Welcome to Bleed Blue, the SWOSU Athletics podcast, bringing you interviews and insights from around Southwestern Oklahoma State University.
I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I just love my time up there and the fellowship with the friends and everything, and that's why I love Southwestern more than anything else.
Be in attack mode for 9 innings.
Southwestern get behind the Cocannouer. Looking here.
Touchdown, Bulldog.
Around here, we bleed blue.
Now here's your host, Hailey Tucker.
What's up, Bulldog Nation? I'm Hailey Tucker, your host for the new SWOSU Athletics podcast, Bleed Blue. I'm here with a very special guest today, Dan Cocannouer. Coach, how are you doing? What have you been doing? We haven't seen you in a long time. I miss you so much, and I'm glad to see you today.
Well, I've been in hibernation, trying to stay away from everybody. And then I tried to retire, and I got bored and took another job, high school job, and I kept saying, why did I not stay bored and just sit out on the front porch and watch the turkeys walk by? But I didn't. So I'm back at it. And, it was pretty rough this year with this pandemic, but it's just one of those years. I'm just telling you, it's just one of those years.
And you've been so successful at the high school level. I mean, you've gone from high school to college to high school, and kind of talk about what is the difference from coaching at a college level to a high school level?
Well, the biggest difference is, well, of course, athletes, but at the college level, you can go out and try to find athletes. In high school, you play with the hand you're dealt. And, and the hand I got dealt, there was no aces, kings, queens, anything like that. It was all deuces and threes and fours. So that made it pretty tough, but that's how that went. But that's the biggest difference between high school and college is personnel. I mean, you can go out and recruit a quarterback or recruit a linebacker. In high school, what you got is what you got. And if you go out and recruit, you get in trouble.
And you are a former SWOSU football player. What were you? Were you an ace, a deuce, or a three when you played?
I was a deuce. That's what I thought. I always thought, gosh, dang it, man. The coach is looking for a full house, and he got the wrong card when he got me. But that's how I feel about it. So, I enjoyed my stay at Southwestern as far as a player. I just tell kids when I was up there as coaching, the guys that you meet and play with in college are going to be your best friends the rest of your life. I mean, they'll be more than what your high school guys were. And it's just amazing in my life how guys that I played with, how they keep up with me all the time. I mean, Mayor Mike Brown, I met him playing ball up there, and he's one of my dearest friends, him and Debbie. I just love them both, and they're the dearest friends I have as far as people that I played with. So, that's what I look on that. And I wouldn't give up those times. I didn't play near as much as, how that goes. But no, because you played all the time. Never mind. But the thing is that I wouldn't change anything. I mean, I just love my time up there and the fellowship with the friends and everything. And that's why I love Southwestern more than anything else.
And you guys got to spend a lot of time together. I mean, your teams were always so successful, playing in the Apple Bowl, against Abilene Christian. What game could you remember that was your most favorite game, most favorite memory?
Oh my gosh, there were several of them. I mean, I remember a couple of fights, but I was a young guy then, so I wasn't remember that part there. But I don't know. I mean, I wasn't that star player and thing, but I still remember the game that I scored my only touchdown I scored in college, and that was a great moment because all my friends, they were just so excited about it. And when I scored, I mean, they're going as wild as I was. So, that just shows you the camaraderie we had with the guys that I played with back then.
So what were you, a tight end or receiver?
I was a slow running back. I was the biggest running back as far as weight and height, but I was the slowest by far. I promise you that. So
Well, that's pretty incredible because you are over 6 foot tall being a running back. I mean, that's pretty incredible right there. I always tried to, when I did sideline reporting with you, we were talking about this before the podcast started, but always tried to one up you and wear some heels and be taller just to embarrass you.
Oh, yeah. Well, you did embarrass me several times, so that's okay. But no, but like I said, it's great memories as far as a player and student there at Southwestern. It was a great time.
And how did things change? I mean, Milam Stadium was there, but how did things change over the course of, many years from your playing days to your coaching days at Southwestern?
I mean, the biggest thing is after I took the job there, we put artificial turf down. That made a big deal. And, I know they updated the press box about, 10, 15 years after I graduated from college. So other than that, and then the Wellness Center, that's where the baseball field was. And I remember we used to go watch baseball games and watch them hit the ball out on the hill. Everybody else couldn't do it, but our guys were pretty good at it. So a lot of great memories as far as looking at that. And then now we're the new gymnasium, which I used to call it was my indoor practice facility until they put a wooden floor down. That's how I sold it to everybody. And but the thing is, there was a lot of great times there. There's some tough times, but I said, if I do it all over again, I'd do it. I wouldn't even hesitate.
And, going back to when you're coaching and then when you're playing, so what was the one thing about Southwestern that made you want to commit to Southwestern to play football compared to, how did you sell it to recruits nowadays? Yeah,
I mean, we all have visions. All high school kids have visions of playing at University of Oklahoma, Alabama. We all did. I mean, we weren't, that's just a common thing. And then all of a sudden you get to that point where you're going, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. And so it's wild is that I got injured my senior year and I was in the hospital and I was watching a football game. It was the Denver Broncos. And at halftime, Southwestern's band was performing on there. And I went, holy cow, that's right up the road. And so, that's when I decided, hey, I'm going to go to Southwestern. And just because I saw the band and an NFL game. And, I can still remember, guys, when we used to practice in 3 days back then because there was no NCAA, regulations, which, golly, kids don't understand how easy it is now. But, our band would be up there on the baseball field practicing. They'd have 100, 200 people up out there at the same time we were having football. So, that was a big thing I remember. But I remember watching the band on that football field, again, the Denver Bronco games. That's when I really decided that's where I wanted to go.
And I've been around you with the guys. I mean, they absolutely loved you. Being on the field, hearing the stuff that was said, they loved and cherished you so much. So, it's hard to do that as a head football coach and get that, conversation with those guys. So how did you do it? How did you connect with them so much?
Well, I really related with a lot of, especially the ones that weren't the stars, that I used to tell them, guys, I wasn't either. I mean, a lot of times you got to play on the scout team. So a lot of times you got to do that. And I mean, that's just part of it. And, but if you love the game, you will. But, again, I really stressed to them at the very first of it, just look around the room. Just look around the room because these guys will be the best friends you'll ever have. And, and so we try to do that. And, we try to get it where they kind of understood that part. And, again, we didn't have some of the players. We had some great players up there. There's no doubt about it. I was very fortunate to have several All-Americans who played for me. And so, but we did. I just felt like that we were going out recruiting the kind of kids that we want to be around and, have fun with. And that was my whole goal, was to try to get those type of kids in there and try to have some success doing that.
And you had a lot of kids from, not just Oklahoma, but from California, the East Coast, West Coast, everywhere. So how did you sell Southwestern, in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma? How did you sell that?
Well, I tell you, it was harder to sell Southwestern to Oklahoma kids than it was to other kids, other places. I'm just telling you, because there's different things that we could do. But I just remember going up in the Tulsa area, and I had two kids from Bixby that I was recruiting. I mean, one's a quarterback, one was a punter. And, man, I really liked them. And, I mean, their coach, I knew their coach real well. And he goes, man, they do the same thing we do. And the kid goes, "Where is Southwestern at?" And I go, "It's an hour past Oklahoma City." And they go, "Past Oklahoma City?" And I go, "Yeah, there's a dang ocean on the other side of us," So, that was very tough. But recruiting, as far as a lot of the kids, as far as in Texas, California, people like that, I mean, it was an easier sell. I'm just telling you, it was an easier sell than as far as for Oklahoma kids, because today's generation, as far as athletes that I look at, they want to go, they want to get away. They want to go away. And a lot of them will just, I'm just going, gosh, you're going up into Kansas, you're going down to Texas, and it's going to cost you more to go there than to come here, but, they just want to get away. So that's a big selling deal. But we got a lot of guys come back. I think SWOSU is a great example. One of our better players we had. I mean, he went to University of Oklahoma, and we recruited the heck out of that guy, and it didn't work out. And he came back home, and he said, "Well, let's come here and shoot. Don't let the door open the door, and let's go." And so, and that's how we got a lot of those players too. I mean, I told a lot of those Oklahoma kids that doesn't work out where you're going. Hey, you look at me, look me up, and I'll, heck, we'll love to have you. And so that's a big thing as far as from recruiting, as far as Oklahoma kids.
And you've had incredible players in the past. I picture these games where Don Blue blocks the field goal attempt at Ouachita, I believe, or Monticello, and then Mark Evans throwing that Hail Mary to Bricker. I mean, what was your favorite memory coaching at Southwestern?
Man, there's a lot of them. I want to tell you, I think the biggest one, the in the loss department, I hate talking about those deals, but we played Ouachita the very first time, and it ended up being like 48-41, something like that. I mean, and, they had us down 27-0. All of a sudden, we came back, and my gosh, we made it a game and, dang near won the ball game. But then again, I also think about the time when we played Ouachita at our place and beat them that year that we went to the bowl game. I mean, my gosh, our kids were on fire. I mean, it was like 35-7 at halftime, and people are just kind of in a daze because our kids just lit it up. And so I think games like that, but my gosh, there's so many individual things that I remember, just like the Hail Mary. I mean, I remember when that was thrown there. I mean, it was like, it's funny talking to people saying they listened on the podcast and they go, the announcer just went blank. They said nobody knew what, all of a sudden he just went nuts and everybody went going crazy and everything. And so, and that was a year after I lost my wife. And I still remember two of the kids coming up to me saying, "Hey, Mrs. C, that's all her. She was there to help us on that one." So I remember that well.
And, that was a year of such loss, for you and your wife, but also it was a year where your team really came together and you guys won. I mean, you went to the bowl game, you were named, coach of the year. You had all these, Hall of Fame things being inducted. So talk about, how that year went in your mind. I mean, it was such a hard year, but it turned,
I mean, I can still remember the day I was going to meet the players. I was sitting in my house. It's 2 days after I buried my wife. And I was going, "Guys, I don't think I can do this." My daughters go, "You need to go up there." And I remember going up there and how tough it was talking with them. But, I told people all the time that, those kids saved my life. I mean, those coaches did. I mean, it was funny how they were because they knew I was out on the field, on the practice field, and I'd be kind of zoning. All of a sudden I'd kind of, out in left field, the kids would come by and they'd pat me on the butt. I mean, they always patted me on the butt. And they said, "Coach, let's go." And I go, "Okay, let's go." And then be in meetings with the coaches, and the coach would see that. And then their favorite thing to say to me is, "What do you think, Coach?" And they'd bring me back in as far as reality. But it was one of those ones where you just went, holy cow. I mean, we just had some games that, and then there's a couple games there that we lost that we should have won, and just weird games there. But I mean, when it came down to it, our players, they stepped it up for me. And, I'm thankful for them for the rest of my life because I swear, I do believe they saved my life just because of being around them. And they made that whole year, it was just, kind of a blur still to me, but it was just amazing as far as to be able to do what we did and go to that bowl game. And, that's one thing I remember going to the bowl game. I told Mr. Thurman and Dr. Butler, I said, "I want to take all my players. I don't want to just take the the 60. They all deserve to go. And we all went. And I mean, they said, no problem. I remember we had 3 bus loads of guys who went to that game. And, and there was except for the very last of it, our kids fought like they did all year long. And so I was very proud of them and very, I got that team picture hanging up in my office. I'll have it the rest of my life.
It was a very special team filled with very special players. I don't know if you could tell me this, but I'm always curious to ask coaches, did you have a favorite player or someone that you knew would get the job done for you every single time? Did you have someone like that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the year before that, I thought Ryan Corbin was the tight end. I mean, gosh, dang, get the ball in his hands. I mean, that's how that was. And then you had, DJ. I mean, the smallest guy on the team, but my gosh, you want to put the ball in his hands. But we had several that way. I was just very pleased with that. And over the years, it's hard to say here's one there because there's really so many of them. But I mean, when you talk about individual deals and certain ones, those 2 guys really bring up in my mind because those were the go-to guys. Those were the go-to guys when we needed something to happen.
And they were incredible players. I mean, I remember watching them just always thinking, wow, look at these guys go.
Yeah, and then I remember another guy, Timmy Winans, guy was not that great a receiver, but he's a 4-year starter for us just because of his work ethics. And I mean, he could go. And I mean, he's one of those favorites too, because like I said, you could depend on him. He was going to give it all he had in practice and in games. And that's why he was a 4-year starter for us too. So, I mean, there's a lot of guys that a lot of people don't know about that, they did a lot of great things for us.
And, you talk about you retired from college and then you got bored and then you head back to high school football and you've been so successful at both. But, what things do you take from college? The mentality, what do you tell your high school players? Hey, if you want to play in college, this is what you got to do.
Oh yeah. I tell them that all the time. I'd say, guys, I can help you out because I know a lot of college coaches out there that I could call and say, hey, visit. But I also tell them that I don't go out on a limb. You better be worth it because I don't put my name out there for just anybody. And so if you want to go, you got to prove it to me. And so I think that's a big thing as far as for me, okay, guys, if you want to do this, here's how you got to do it. If you don't want to do that, guys, don't ask me to go call these people because I won't do it because I don't lie. I'll tell him if he's a great kid or he's a guy that doesn't do what he needs to do. I mean, because I put my name out there on that part too. And so and that's one thing I really loved about our conference at GAC those last few years was that the coaches on both sides, especially those coaches out in Arkansas, they were so great. They were so great and personable and just, that's another thing I think about that year too. We went to the bowl game was that everywhere we went, all those, especially those the Arkansas coaches, the Oklahoma coaches did too, because there's some good ones there too. But every one of them just came up to me and just was, Coach, how you doing? Just checking that out all the time. And so that meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me because, we talk about as far as this profession, which I think coaching is the greatest profession there is. I mean, that's just me personally. And there's just so many people out there that I coach against. I mean, during the ball game, I don't like it, but after the game, hey, we're good friends. And so that's just how that is, competition. But I still remember that so well, all those coaches just coming up to me, just, how you doing, Dan? How you doing? Everything going okay? Just even after the ball games, there's a couple of the Arkansas coaches that, my gosh, the game's over with, and we're wanting to get with our kids, and they just, well, Dan, if you need anything, they were all that way. They're just awesome people.
And that's what the GAC is really, a family. And you talk about that. So when you travel all the way to Arkansas, I mean, there's 8, 10, 12-hour trips that you've got to go on that, some people don't understand that you get on the bus, you drive there, you get off, you play. You might stay the night and then play the next morning. But was that a toll on your guys?
No, at the first it was, but then we just learned things every once in a while. Okay, here's how we're going to do that. Okay, guys, we're going to get up there at breakfast time. This group, okay, offensive lineman, you're eating breakfast at this time. Okay, you guys here, I mean, I've tried to get in a routine where they're doing the same thing every time. And, I remember when I first started coaching, we took their cell phones away from them. And, we don't want you calling people. Well, then they all have music on there. And I go, well, guys, we ain't going to fight that battle. They're grown men. I used to tell them that all the time. You're grown men, guys. I mean, don't do anything stupid. And so, but I mean, I thought our kids everywhere we went, they were great gentlemen. I mean, I was very pleased the way our kids acted, and very proud of them as far as everywhere we went. But you try to get in a routine. I mean, I was one of those ones, we got on that bus. By the time we got to Hydro, I was already asleep, but, we always had guys that we called the movie men. They were the ones that always brought the DVDs as far as movies. I watched movies that I didn't think I'd ever watch. And some I still didn't understand, but, heck, that's the way that was. And then I'd show an old John Wayne to them and they'd all boo me, but, that's how it goes. So, but I mean, we had good times on there, but it's one where it took our players a little bit of time as far as to figure that out. I talked to other coaches about how they traveled, what they did. And so, it puts a little toll on there, but, our kids did a good job as far as adapting to it.
And I know you're one of the most humble people out there, but I'm going to brag on you here a little bit. So, you were inducted into the Oklahoma Coaches Association Hall of Fame. You had so many, Coach of the Year, and especially after that 2015 season, the awards just started piling in. So what does that mean to you to be in the Oklahoma Coaches, for the rest of your life?
I mean, it's an honor that, like I said, I kind of look at it as an honor as far as the time, the amount of time I put in that point there too. But, it is a very humbling thing as far as go with there. And I also realize that I wouldn't be there without my other coaches. I wouldn't be there without the players I had. I mean, that's bottom line. I mean, I've been very blessed to have some great players in college, great players in high school, had lots of great coaches. And because of that, that's why I'm where I'm at. And in 2015, the awards that I got, I should have had all my coaches. I should have had all my players accepting those with me, because I wouldn't have got those without those guys. I mean, that's just how I feel about it.
And, you retired from Southwestern. Now you're back in high school. Are you looking to maybe come back to college? I mean, what are your future plans here, Coach?
No, I tell you what, I really miss sitting out on the front porch, watching turkeys go by and sipping on a cold one. And, I really miss that a lot of times. But, I mean, the pandemic, I think I really got bored, and I just said, I've got to do something. I feel like I'm still too young. I mean, I'm old enough to be your grandpa, but, the thing is that I just feel like I still got some things to do. I mean, I knew I had to do something. People say, well, do something you love. Well, this is what I love. This is what I love. And, it was a tough season this year just because of the pandemic as far as going along there. Matter of fact, if we were supposed to play last Friday, we wouldn't have been able to, because I had 24 kids quarantined. So it's just been one of those years on that part. But, I'm doing what I love to do. I love as far as helping kids, as far as develop. Right now I've got these kids in the weight room, taking them out running, and say, guys, we got to get stronger. We got to get faster. This is how we're going to do it. And if you want to do it, great. If you don't, guys, it won't happen. But, I love as far as the involvement with that. And, people ask me, would you look at some other deal? I mean, I'm at the stage right now that I promised these people here that I'd be here for, 2 or 3 years and just try to help them get that back on track. And that's what I plan on doing. Then after that time right there, I'll just look there and see, well, I still have I don't have false teeth, so I've got real teeth, that type of deal. I need a hearing aid in this ear right here. I'm starting to get bald right here, but other little things like that. But I still love, as far as the coaching, I love game time. I told my high school players, I told my college players, there's no drugs, there's no alcohol, there's nothing that will make you feel like you do when you run out on a football field on a Friday night or a Saturday afternoon for a ball game. And that's just how I love that feeling, and I'm going to love that the rest of my life.
Well, everyone who knows you knows that you love that. And, we're nearing the end of our podcast here, and our podcast, is named Bleed Blue. And I always like to ask our guests, why do you bleed Southwestern Oklahoma State blue?
Because I love what Southwestern stands for. And I'm old school, I'm Southwestern. I don't call it SWOSU, and I still use SW, stuff like that. But I mean, I love what Southwestern has provided me as an adult. That's the bottom line. I mean, the success that I've had started at Southwestern. I know when the job opened up there, I had several of my friends that are high school coaches that I played ball with that encouraged me to look into that job. And I remember calling Kelly Litch and saying, Kelly, would you guys even consider a high school coach? And she goes, Dan, are you interested in looking into it? And I go, yeah. She goes, send your stuff in. And I did. And I met with Miss Thurman and Dr. Hayes, bless his heart. I saw where he just passed away, and, several other ones. And then they offered me a job. And I told my wife, I said, it'll be a cold day, and you know what, before they hire me at Southwestern. And they did. And I'm sitting there going, holy cow, they did it. And it was a big adventure. It was a great deal. I had some great people. I'm so glad that Todd Helton is now the athletic director there. He's you talking about true blue. I used to introduce him all the time as there's no one. But when I had introduced Kelly Litch to my players, I made sure they understood that she was a 4-time All-American, the first one to ever do that. And, because that tells you what great things we have at Southwestern. So I'm very proud as far as being a Bulldog. I'm here at Altus. I'm a Bulldog still. And, and that Bulldogs mean a lot to me. And in fact, I got a 9-month-old Bulldog that if he chews up my couch one more time, I'm not going to have him anymore. So, but I mean, I just love them because of Southwestern. That's why I love being a Bulldog, and I love the blue. I do. I'm one of those ones that, that's my favorite color, and it's because of Southwestern.
Well, you're a Bulldog for life, and you'll own a Bulldog for life. How about that?
Well, like I said, if that couch gets chewed up anymore, that dog's going out on the curb. I'm telling you that right now. So, but no, I love it, and but it's been an honor for me to talk with you. When Doug asked me about doing this, I go, oh my gosh. I mean, I was nervous. Now, hard to believe. I was nervous. My nervous was getting on this contact right here with this computer and getting to talk to you. And, but you're one of my all-time favorites too. I really do miss that I wasn't there that year you guys played for national championship. I'd have loved to have been there. I watched you guys a lot on whenever they live podcasted. And you're one of my favorites, girl, and I appreciate you.
Well, you're one of my favorite people, too, and I could talk to you here forever, but we sadly have to end this podcast. But thank you so much, Cocannouer, for doing this for us. I appreciate you, and for all the computer technical difficulties we got it taken care of.
Well, hey, thank you for even considering me. I promise you that. I love Southwestern, love you guys, and so thank you very much.
Well, thanks, Coach. And thank you for watching our episode of Bleed Blue, the new SWOSU Athletics podcast. We will see you next time with another very special guest.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Bleed Blue, the SWOSU Athletics podcast. To learn more about Bulldog Athletics, visit us on the web at www.swosuathletics.com. And as always, go Dogs. Subscribe to Bleed Blue, the SWOSU Athletics podcast, wherever you get your podcasts.